Let me ask you something, and don't answer it out loud. Answer it honestly. At what point did you decide you were optional in your own life? At what moment did you lower the standard for what you expect from yourself? And then wonder why life met you at that same low standard, because success doesn't chase people who treat themselves like a maybe. Success doesn't respond to half commitment, self-doubt, or waiting for permission. Success shows up the day you stop asking, am I good enough? And start declaring, I decide who I become. The moment you take yourself seriously, life does too. Most people think success is about doing more. It's not. It's about deciding who you are and then refusing to negotiate with that decision. Because here's the truth. Most people never confront. You will never outperform the identity you hold for yourself. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of what you believe you deserve. And the moment you start taking yourself seriously, something radical happens inside you. You stop seeing your life as something that happens to you, and you start seeing it as something that responds to you. Your identity is the invisible force shaping every decision you make when no one is watching. If you see yourself as someone who tries, you'll try and quit. If you see yourself as someone who hopes, you'll hope and wait. But if you see yourself as someone who decides, you will find a way even when the path doesn't exist yet. Taking yourself seriously means this. You stop lying to yourself about your potential. You stop romanticizing struggle while tolerating mediocrity. You stop confusing being busy with being committed. Most people want a better life, but they don't want to upgrade their self-image. And that's like wanting first-class results while insisting on economy-class habits. Your brain is a goal achievement machine, but it only works for the identity you give it. If you identify as someone who isn't disciplined, your nervous system will sabotage discipline. If you identify as someone who always fails, your mind will find evidence to prove you right. But the day you take yourself seriously, you rewrite that identity. You no longer say, I'll try. You say, this is who I am now. And identity always wins over intention. Think about it. You don't negotiate with gravity. You don't debate whether fire burns. And when your identity becomes solid, your actions stop being optional. That's when procrastination dies. Because procrastination isn't a time problem. It's an identity conflict. Your old self is fighting your future self. Taking yourself seriously means you resolve that conflict. You decide, I am the kind of person who follows through. I am the kind of person who prepares. I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. And once that identity is locked in, behavior follows naturally. People ask, how do I stay motivated? Wrong question. Motivation is unreliable. Identity is permanent. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth. You don't need motivation to defend your values. Why? Because it's who you are. The moment success becomes part of your identity, excuses become irrelevant. And let's be honest, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they don't respect themselves enough to demand more from themselves. Taking yourself seriously means you stop abandoning yourself. You stop breaking promises to yourself and then wondering why your confidence is gone. Because confidence is not built by hype. It's built by keeping your word to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and you don't, your self-trust erodes. Every time you follow through, even when it's uncomfortable, your self-belief strengthens. This is how identity is forged. Not in massive moments, but in small private decisions. When you wake up and do the thing you said you would do, when you choose discipline over comfort, when you act like your future matters, the world doesn't decide your worth. Your results don't decide your worth. But your standards reveal how seriously you take yourself. And once you take yourself seriously, you stop needing external validation. You don't need applause to perform. You don't need permission to grow. You move differently. You speak differently. You show up differently. Because deep down, I matter enough to demand excellence from myself. And that identity, once installed, becomes unshakable. Most people think their future is shaped by the goals they set. It's not. Your life is shaped by the standards you tolerate. Because goals are something you want. Standards are something you must. And there is a massive difference between wanting something and demanding it from yourself. You can have the most inspiring goals in the world, write them down, visualize them, talk about them every day, and still stay stuck if your standards remain low. because you don't rise to your goals on your best days. You fall to your standards on your worst days. That's when the truth shows up. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when nobody's watching, when motivation is gone, that's when your standards decide who you are. Most people negotiate with themselves in moments that matter. They say, just this once, I'll do it tomorrow, I deserve a break, I'll lower the bar today. And every time they do that, they reinforce an identity of compromise, not failure. Compromise. And compromise is far more dangerous than failure because it feels reasonable. Taking yourself seriously means you stop negotiating with your standards. You decide what is no longer acceptable in your life, and you enforce it with action. You don't say, I hope I stay consistent. You say, inconsistency is no longer who I am. You don't say, I want to be confident. You say, disrespect from myself or anyone else is no longer tolerated. That shift changes everything, because standards are not emotional. They are non-negotiable. Think about it. If your standard is brushing your teeth, you do it no matter how tired you are. You don't debate it. You don't wait for motivation. You don't ask how you feel. You just do it. Imagine applying that same level of certainty to your growth, your discipline, your health, your work ethic, your mindset. That's how transformation actually happens. Not through inspiration, through enforcement. Most people let their emotions decide their behavior. Successful people let their standards decide their behavior. And standards are installed through pain and leverage. At some point, you must associate more pain with staying the same than with changing. The moment you take yourself seriously, you stop glamorizing comfort and start seeing the real cost of low standards, the cost of procrastination, the cost of inconsistency, the cost of playing small, the cost of waiting for confidence instead of building it. You realize that every time you lower your standards, you're training yourself to live beneath your potential. And once you see that clearly, you can unsee it. That's when change becomes permanent, because you don't change when it's easy. You change when staying the same becomes unbearable. Taking yourself seriously means raising the standard of what you expect from yourself, not someday, not next year. Now, it means you no longer accept excuses you wouldn't accept from someone else. You stop letting your past define what you think is possible. You stop saying, that's just how I am, because that sentence has destroyed more potential than failure ever has. You are not fixed. You are conditioned. And standards are how conditioning changes. Every time you push past resistance, your nervous system rewires. Every time you follow through, your confidence compounds. Every time you keep your word to yourself, your self-respect grows. This is why standards determine destiny. Not what you want once, but what you demand daily. You don't need more time. You don't need more resources. You don't need more luck. You need higher standards. Because the moment you raise them, your behavior has no choice but to rise with them. And when your standards rise, your identity strengthens. When your identity strengthens, your actions align. When your actions align, your results accelerate. That's the chain reaction. And it all begins the day you decide, I don't live like this anymore. Not out of anger, out of respect. Respect for your future. Respect for your potential. Respect for the life you're capable of creating. Success doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to non-negotiable standards, and the world will always meet you at the level you demand of yourself. Whether you realize it or not, you are teaching people how to treat you every single day, not with your words, with your standards, with your boundaries, with what you allow and what you tolerate. The world is not guessing how to treat you. It's responding to the signals you send. If you tolerate disrespect, you invite more of it. If you accept mediocrity from yourself, life mirrors that back. If you constantly lower expectations to avoid discomfort, you train everyone, including your own mind, that your limits are flexible. Taking yourself seriously means you stop outsourcing your value. You stop waiting for people to recognize your worth. You stop hoping someone else will validate your effort. You stop adjusting who you are to fit into environments that don't honor you. Because respect doesn't start out there. It starts in here. And self-respect is not an attitude. It's a behavior. It's how you show up when nobody is watching. It's whether you keep your promises to yourself. It's whether you speak up when something crosses your line. It's whether you walk away from what drains you, even when it's familiar. Most people want confidence, but they live in ways that constantly violate their own values. They say yes when they mean no. They stay silent when they feel disrespected. They settle because it feels safer than standing alone. And then they wonder why they feel small. You don't lose confidence all at once. You leak it. Every time you abandon yourself, taking yourself seriously means you close those leaks. You decide what you stand for. You decide what you won't tolerate. And you enforce those decisions with action, not explanation. You don't need to justify your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. When you change the way you treat yourself, the world has no choice but to adjust. Some people will rise to meet your new standard. Others will resist it. Some will disappear. That's not a loss. That's alignment, because not everyone is meant to come with you when you elevate. People don't push back when you change because you're wrong. They push back because your growth exposes their comfort. And if you cave in that moment, you teach them that your standards are temporary. But if you hold the line, calmly, firmly, consistently, you send a powerful message. I respect myself. That message is felt more than it's heard. You walk differently. You speak with certainty. You make decisions faster. You stop over-explaining. You stop shrinking. And here's the paradox. When you respect yourself, you actually become more compassionate, not less, because you're no longer seeking approval. You're no longer defensive. You're no longer reactive. You respond instead of react. You choose environments that fuel you. You invest your time where it matters. You protect your energy like it's valuable, because it is. Taking yourself seriously means recognizing that your time, focus, and emotional energy are finite. Every yes costs you something. Every tolerance teaches something. Every boundary shapes your future. The most successful people on earth are not the most aggressive. They are the most intentional. They know what they allow. They know what they refuse, and they don't apologize for honoring themselves. This is how leadership begins, not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. When you lead yourself well, others feel it. They trust you. They respect you. They follow your example, not because you demanded it, because you embodied it. And the most important relationship you will ever lead is the one you have with yourself. If you tolerate chaos internally, you'll attract it externally. If you tolerate excuses internally, you'll live with them externally. But when you raise the standard of how you treat yourself, everything else recalibrates. Your work improves, your relationships strengthen, your confidence stabilizes, because self-respect is not loud, it's consistent, and consistency is what makes you unstoppable. Success doesn't come from proving yourself to the world. It comes from refusing to betray yourself. And the day you stop doing that, the day you truly take yourself seriously, is the day the world starts treating you differently. Not out of kindness, out of recognition. Most people overestimate what they can do in a single moment and massively underestimate what they can become through consistent daily decisions. They wait for breakthroughs. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect time. But success is rarely a lightning strike. It's a slow, relentless accumulatio, N of small choices made daily, that eventually becomes unstoppable momentum. Taking yourself seriously means you stop waiting for dramatic change and start honoring the power of the ordinary, because your life is not shaped by what you do once in a while. It's shaped by what you do every day without thinking. Every decision you make is either reinforcing the person you want to become or the person you're trying to leave behind. There is no neutral. When you choose to get up when it's uncomfortable, you strengthen discipline. When you choose to avoid the work, you strengthen avoidance. When you choose growth, even in small ways, you train your nervous system to expect progress. And the opposite is also true. This is why habits are destiny in disguise. You don't wake up one day successful. You wake up one day consistent and realize success has been quietly building behind the scenes. Most people sabotage their future because they don't see immediate results. They mistake progress for lack of progress. They quit in the valley before the compounding effect has time to show itself. Taking yourself seriously means you understand the math of momentum. A single workout won't transform your body. A single focused day won't transform your career. But repeated daily actions over time transform everything. And once momentum starts, it becomes easier to continue than to stop. That's the secret most people never reach. They quit before momentum kicks in. Daily decisions shape identity. When you do something once, it's an action. When you repeat it, it becomes a habit. When the habit sticks, it becomes who you are. And identity always drives future behavior. This is why small daily promises matter so much. When you say, I'll do this today, and you follow through, even on something simple, you reinforce self-trust. When you don't, you reinforce doubt. Confidence is not built through hype or affirmations. It's built through evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself. Taking yourself seriously means you become obsessed with winning the day. Not the year, not the decade, the day. You don't ask, will this change my life? You ask, is this aligned with the person I am becoming? Because alignment creates momentum. When your actions align with your values, your energy increases. When they don't, resistance shows up. Most people feel tired not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing things that don't align with who they want to be. Daily discipline removes that friction, and discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in action. You stop negotiating with your future. You stop trading long-term power for short-term comfort. You realize that every small decision is a vote for strength or weakness, a vote for growth or stagnation, a vote for seriousness or excuses. And over time, those votes create a landslide. The most dangerous lie people tell themselves is, this doesn't matter. It always matters. What you eat matters. What you think matters. What you consume matters. Users, what you tolerate matters, not because of the moment, but because of the direction. Taking yourself seriously means you choose direction over mood. You act even when you don't feel like it. You show up even when it's inconvenient. You stay consistent even when no one notices. And one day people will call it luck, but you'll know the truth. It was daily discipline. It was invisible effort. It was momentum compounding quietly in your favor. And once that momentum is built, success stops feeling like a struggle. It feels like inevitability. Because you've trained yourself to move forward, one serious day at a time. Self-respect is not something you feel. It's something you practice. And most people don't lack confidence. They lack the evidence that they can trust themselves, because every time you ignore your own standards, every time you break a promise to yourself, every time you choose comfort over integrity, something inside you weakens, not loudly, quietly. And over time, that quiet erosion becomes hesitation, doubt, and fear. Taking yourself seriously means you reverse that process. You stop waiting to feel worthy before you act, and you act in ways that make you feel worthy. Because confidence is a byproduct of alignment. When your actions align with your values, your nervous system relaxes. When they don't, resistance shows up as anxiety, procrastinatio, and self-sabotage. Self-respect removes that resistance. It simplifies life. You don't overthink as much. You don't second-guess every decision. You don't need constant reassurance, because deep down you know you are living in integrity with yourself. And that integrity creates momentum, not explosive momentum, unstoppable momentum, the kind that doesn't depend on mood, the kind that doesn't collapse under pressure, the kind that builds even on hard days. Self-respect changes the way you carry yourself. You stop chasing approval. You stop proving. You stop explaining. You choose instead. You choose how you spend your time. You choose what you tolerate. You choose who has access to you. And those choices send a powerful signal to your mind, to your body, and to the world. I am not available for mediocrity. That signal creates clarity. When you respect yourself, your decisions get cleaner. You don't say yes out of guilt. You don't stay out of fear. You don't settle out of habit. You move forward out of purpose. Momentum doesn't come from force. It comes from consistency, rooted in self-respect. When you know you will show up for yourself again and again, you stop doubting your future. You trust the process because you trust you. And that trust changes how you experience challenges. Obstacles stop feeling like proof that you're failing and start feeling like feedback. You adapt instead of collapse. You learn instead of quit. You rise instead of retreat. Because self-respect builds emotional resilience. It gives you a center. No matter what happens around you, you don't abandon yourself. That's power. And here's the part most people miss. Self-respect doesn't make life easier. It makes it simpler. You stop wasting energy on internal conflict. You're not fighting who you are anymore. You're not trying to be someone else. You're not betraying your values for short-term relief. You're moving forward in one direction. And direction is everything. Once momentum is built on self-respect, success accelerates naturally. People notice your certainty. Opportunities align with your standards. Your work carries weight. Not because you're louder, but because you're grounded. Success doesn't chase people who need validation. It responds to people who are clear about who they are, clear about what they expect from themselves, clear about what they refuse to tolerate. That clarity is magnetic. And it all begins the day you stop treating yourself like an option, the day you stop negotiating your worth, the day you stop betraying your future for comfort, the day you decide that your life deserves your full commitment. Because success does not begin when the world believes in you. It begins when you do. When you take yourself seriously, consistently, quietly, relentlessly. Life has no choice but to rise to meet you.